All right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Everybody's had a good week. Thanks for joining us. We get warmed up here. Try to get some coffee in before we forget what we're doing here. How's everybody's week been? Throw some info in the side chat if you got anything. We found everything from the Great Lakes leaking into the salt mines of Michigan to I don't know a number of things we've looked into that we're off schedule in the chat here. So bring your topics. There's never a dull day. There's always something going on out there. We just sometimes some things are buried more in the news than other. Hey, good morning, Barry. How you doing? Yeah, it looks like we're stuck in this high dry mode for weather. As you can see, the East Coast is just inundated once again. I mean, as we get a trend, this green blob line keeps just moves from Kansas to the coast, and it does a recycle. Kansas to the coast, we get kind of left out. Wonder if there's any tornado concerns with that weather in Nebraska to Minnesota. There, got the red and bright yellow splotches going on. Hey, Walter. Good morning. Looks like you're getting a little wet. Hope you're hopefully got the hay in the barn. You got some localized flooding there, Walter. Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it's still got some pretty severe. Actually, I saw a video earlier. I don't know if I have it pulled up or not. We might get to it, but we'll move forward. From those of you that are in the rain, you know it. Hopefully, the rest of you are drying out. Um, in the category of do you have your bug out plan solid? Forest wildfires in Greece looked pretty overwhelming in some of this video. We'll pull this up. Looks like they got pretty overrun. You got 79 deaths in wildfires. That's a pretty unusual type of event. I don't know how Greece is laid out. Maybe people got trapped or something, but there's several stories out there. This,
The death toll in Greece has risen to at least 79 people as rescue workers continue to search the destruction. Two wildfires on the Grecian coast caused thousands of people to flee their homes on Monday. Social media has been flooded with people trying to locate their loved ones. It's unclear how many people are still missing. More than 200 firefighters are still working to contain one of the fires near Athena, where three communities were evacuated overnight. The fires were fanned by strong winds on Monday and spread extremely quick, giving many people no time to escape. Many residents had no choice but to run into the ocean to escape the flames. The Prime Minister has declared 3 days of national mourning for the victims of the disaster.
is 79 killed. I mean, we have a lot of wildfires out here, but you don't usually hear death tolls like that. Uh, just thinks of how overwhelming people must have been trying to get out of there. You saw it's not just wildfires. I mean, it's obviously going into towns and cities. Uh, and like you see videos like that every year too. People driving down like LA freeways and stuff, and fire on the side and whatnot. And like they're in similar situations. It says here 700 people were evacuated by sea. So some people are isolated in such a way that they can only get out through the sea. As she mentioned on the video, there many people escape to the sea to escape the fire. So that's the only place they can go to get away. It looked like a pretty big event there. It didn't discuss how it started, or it said just winds fan the flames to make them spread faster. But we're not the only ones that have that problem out west. It looks like it's a little bit elsewhere as well. We just don't hear about it as often until it gets in the news, probably. Looks like they use a lot of concrete structures there. You see the just all everything's burnt out except for the concrete structure part of it. Probably a pretty solid home. All right, in the chat today, hey Rooster, what's going on? No notification. You know it's Google. I don't. You can't help them for them not being able to help themselves. Crazy Scotsman's with us. Good morning, sir. Yeah, we could use some rain, Rooster, for sure. For sure. And M Long is cool and dry. Castaways join us. Good morning. How you doing out down under down there? Is it Thursday morning or is it late Wednesday night? Exactly how many? I'm not sure the exact hours difference. I guess it's got to be late Wednesday because you're not a full 24 ahead. That wouldn't make sense. You have a channel you're sub to, Rooster? Poseidon? Said the fires are normal every 3 years or so. But is this fire in particular like unusually big, or what's causing all the deaths? That death toll seems a little high. There's some pretty dramatic pictures out of Greece. It's not really anything we're not used to seeing. We were just used to seeing it being in California or Arizona or Washington or something like that. I found that interesting. But when you talk about your bug out plans, people who are isolated on the coast being evacuated by water, it's like have all your options available when making your plan. Having options available. In our a quick review of our, I wanted to click. I had to see this one because I just had to see it. It's a video of saying the Constitution triggers Nancy Pelosi face spasm. So maybe this is how demons are exercise the demons. She can't say it with a straight face. Maybe that's it because it's one of those things when you don't believe it. Uh, so this is our comedic relief, I guess, for the day. To see this, how this, I just had to watch it, so I thought I'd share when I that I stumbled across.
Protect and defend our country from all and our Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and our Constitution.
It's not as dramatic as I was hoping. It's not a full-on conniption or nothing.
That's the danger this president is
like our whole left side of our body doesn't stop working or something.
With that, I'm pleased to the distinguished ranking member on the Intelligence Committee. That was about economy in Eastern in Europe, the urgency of us acting in a bipartisan way to say to the president,
Yeah, she got her lines though. Anyway, that wasn't nearly as much fun as I thought it would be. She's got that eye twitch going. That's good clickbait for you, I guess, right there, huh? So moving on from that, man. Okay, it's 11:30 at night. Yeah, so it's almost Thursday for you. There, Castaway. Refugees still moving through Greece. I think the refugee situation is just a fluid. Depends on where they are at any given time. Depends on where they're coming from. There's so many different stories of refugees every week. It's like, which one is the cause du jour today? Is it the yeah? Because the last I remember, there was the Austrian issue with Austria shutting down the border. And then there's the ones coming across the Med that go into Spain or Italy or Sicily, or it's all hit and miss, Walter. As far as I know, I haven't over here. It's so hard to track unless you see a big headline, which I didn't see anything. And really, you haven't had a Stefan Minkenberg hasn't checked in with us in a week or so. I wonder if he's seen anything increases or decreases due to different situations. Obviously the Brexit deal is a big deal with the causing a lot of the pushback to cause people to want to do Brexit and stuff. And Walt M. Long's gonna be right back. And here was another interesting story out of Japan. So you want to talk about a job market? Wannabe ninjas plague Japan town after a viral mix-up. I'm not sure if it's a mix-up. Uh, so the western city of Aiga was featured in a report by NPR earlier this month about Japan's population and labor shortage. Aiga was trying to capitalize on its history as home of ninjas by building a new museum focused on the ninjas, but was struggling to hire staff, including performers. It is reported by NPR that ninja performers in Japan can earn anywhere between $23,000 and $85,000 a year. But when reports went out that just mentioned the $85,000 number, they got overwhelmed. There's at least 115 aspiring assassins have contacted the city. Everybody's rushing to be a ninja in Japan. That sounds about right. I mean, you would think there would be no shortage of them in Japan. People be kind of like finding cowboy performers in Arizona ghost towns or something like that. No shortage of people trying to bring up history. That's quite the payday, though. $85,000 to portray a ninja, swing a sword around, wear a costume all day, talk to tourists, take pictures. I think the picture up top is just a stock photo. That's not part of the issue. It's not a kid issue. But I found that kind of humorous. Japan has a ninja shortage. Right, Castaway? Yeah, Nancy is the lead demon. I'm pretty sure Castaway. If not lead, she's the top three for sure. Hey, Food Forest. Good morning. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. I don't know if anybody's seen the today's sign of the apocalypse. Just speaking of Japan, this is from yesterday, I believe. It's today. Re-upped it to today, but Japan is threatened with extinction as sex dolls become more popular. They're afraid of a population decline. That's just sad. It'll probably hit America too. But looking at our country most likely to collapse after Venezuela, South Africa, looking back in on their water issue, separate from their secession split in the country issue. Looks like we got some protests going on in the South Coast area. And this is also near the areas of the secession areas. So protesters held a water supply hostage on Wednesday in what's called the Harding community. So KwaZulu Natal Transport must be the like province name or something. So, so it looks like the day before, the community safety and liaison, who's pictured here, Mixosi Kandua. I hate trying to say these names. I know I mess them up. Said the areas under the Ugu District municipality were identified as flashpoints for service delivery protest, usually emanating from water shortages. So similar to what we saw in Venezuela earlier, they're already having problems. So you want to couple the political issues on top of water issues. You got a lot of things to that can only get worse, it would seem. Last week, community members blocked the entrance to the municipal office. Yeah, you start messing people's water, I would imagine they would get a little upset and start blocking off places. Have your water storage planned appropriately or a good well access. Also, moving on, countless meetings were convened by the leadership of the municipality with the protesters where outrageous demands of employment of Harding residents for all the occupied positions of truck drivers and general workers were made. It became abundantly clear during the meetings that the protesters were determined to cause a complete shutdown of municipal services in the area. The disrupted municipal operations resulted in water outages in most areas falling under the municipality. I'm not going to read the name. Umzuwabatu Bantu Umuzuwabantu municipality. Man, don't know if I can get that right or not. They're currently contending with water shortages due to drought. Alternative supply has been made to ensure that communities are supplied with water while seeking to declare this a disaster area. So they are in the center of the areas where it's most affected the drought. So that whole Cape Town region. If I can find that on the map, with not getting too in depth to it. Probably not. The ongoing community protest has potential of rendering these initiated measures to collapse will result in a complete shutdown of water supply in all areas under this provincial the municipality's control. The Ugu municipality, which is a separate one, has been plagued by water woes as its pipeline has been repeatedly held hostage and sabotaged. So these are things we hadn't heard of in other articles with the drought issue. I haven't heard the terms held hostage and sabotage talking about any other infrastructure So is this tied to the secession issue to keep things out of the hand of the central government, or is this separate? That's the link that would be interesting to look into. The municipality blames striking workers for closing valves, draining the reservoir, and physically destroying parts of the pipeline, as it was the third time that the infrastructure had been sabotaged during a labor dispute. That's the end of the article. Last month, talk of a third force spread from Hybridance to Harding when the water supply was sabotaged, leaving thousands with dry taps for more than 10 days. So in this, we've looked at Cape Town, the central point of some of this water shortage issues, but it looks like there are greater issues in the outlying areas and smaller areas that may have bigger problems. Let me see how, or if I can pull up where this is at. Talking about Harding. The region was declared a disaster area as hospitals, schools, clinics, and homes had no access to water. Truck drivers carrying water to communities were intimidated, and municipal JoJo tanks were stolen. I'm assuming that's a truck term for a water carrier there. That's no degree of seriousness when you got stuff like that going on. Harding, South Africa. It's a nice, cool 75 there currently. Oh, you know what? It looks like these towns are on the opposite side of the country from Cape Town. So outside of the secession area. Let me pull this over. Let me see what's our names of our other towns. Ugu. That's the provincial area, Ugu. So let me pull this over just to give everybody some scope here of what we're talking about. I'm a map guy. I'm not a. If I can see it visually, I get better perspective. My volume's down. Oh snap! Sorry. Why didn't somebody say something earlier, Rooster? Let's see what I need to do here. All right. Is that going to be any better there, Rooster? Give me a 5 if it sounds 5 by 5. So yeah, so here's the area that we're talking about over here on the eastern coast, whereas the secession area is all this western area. So their problems in South Africa definitely outpace their ability to deal with it. I think here's Harding, right in here, and so this provincial area of Ugu is what we're talking about. That's no shortage of problems. There was a couple other articles on South Africa looking at the land issue to see what was going on. There's hearings starting this week about the issues. Um, and then there's the secession issue separate. So this is after 24 years of failure of 4 crucial weeks to push the land reform agenda to a new future. There was a really good video I shared the other day. I should probably put that in the links below. That kind of went through a lot of the backstory of the last 24 years, everything since apartheid, and covering some of those issues. Okay, Rooster says I'm a 5 now. All right. So 4 weeks, 6 out of the 9 provinces, the public hearings over whether there should be a constitutional amendment for expropriation without compensation pushes on. Although the ANC leadership uh, pretty much says it's a done deal if they have their way, but there's still hearings going on about that. There's a deadline in 2 months' time, September 28th, but that's only for a yay or nay on such compensationless expropriation. If it's yay, there are further processes that must unfold, which would, if there's a yay vote, it would probably be cause mass rioting and violence in the countryside. I can't imagine that going well because people will want their land and then and there. Like that alone could cause a lot of problems. Thousands of South Africans, more than parliamentarians had expected, have made their way to the public hearings that to date have been held in them. Here you got a list of names here of all the different. Looks like these are the different provinces. Community halls were filled as those wanting to speak stood patiently for their turn. So they're getting a lot of public feedback in these meetings. There were some heated moments, like in whatever the name of that Pete Martzberg, however you say that, last Friday when a farmer spoke Afrikaans and the lack of translation triggered grumblings. The full story here. So they're holding these hearings still, trying to get public feedback, which can't go well, but the communists have outright demanded expropriation without compensation or else, and they are a large vocal majority, I guess you would say, in the political realm. Um, see, I posted that on the G Plus, didn't I? Let me find that. And there's also a story about the secession, more about the Western Cape, that political movement for the Western Cape portion of the we covered the other day. This is from today, updated article. This is a newly formed organization called Gatval Keptonian is calling for an independent Western Cape and for all people who came to the province post 1994 to sell their assets and leave. So this is a separate issue. It's a whole other little splinter group. Gatval Keptonian spokesperson Fidel Adams told the Citizen, that's the paper, they're calling for all people not born in the Western Cape before 94 to sell their assets and go home. So everybody that came to the so this is a really, I guess you would call a radical group. This is so they're what they're talking about is everybody that moved there after the reorganization end of apartheid. So this is an East versus West thing. It looks like within the country. Members of the organization believe that the colored community in the Western Cape is growing exponentially poorer as a direct result of the migration of people from the Eastern Cape to the Western Cape. They are a strain on the infrastructure. Our trains aren't riding because they aren't designed to cope with this amount of people, he said. And Q and the Quay at Q at are now too long in hospitals. Oh, interesting. A whole different take on the divide is greater than you might think. Here's that documentary. I'll put this documentary. It was recently done, so it updates a lot of the information on the secession issue, and I'll put it in the below stream. Let me check out the side chat there. I got a 5 from Rooster. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Aaron Cox is with us. The International New World Order. Another headline yesterday about the push for an Article 5. But who is pushing for it is the question. Like we were saying last time, it all depends on who runs the show, right? So here's I put the link to this documentary below. It's about the unrest in South Africa. It was done July 17th. It goes pretty in depth since covered most of the stuff since apartheid. Um, Worth checking out if you want to kind of get back into some of the other issues. So that's there for your enjoyment. We get back to this article about the East versus West split and the issue of it sounds like everything boils down to economics, right? In most of these situations. Adams believes that colored Cape Townians are overlooked for jobs due to the favoring of people who are not originally from the Western Cape. And remember, in South Africa, we kind of got into this when the tribal nations were separating or doing their secession statements. They have racial divides along, I guess, what you call darker skinned black people and what they called colored. Uh, the tribes are basically the lighter skinned people, and others that migrated from elsewhere, centuries ago or whatever, or darker skin tones. Like they have a separation in that, even not just a white issue going on. So there's a lot of nuance, I guess you'd say, and also it depends on where you come from in the country, even after '94, apparently. I don't know how you would determine if they came there in '94 or not, or right before. When asked during an interview if he thinks his organization is stoking racial tensions, Adams says, "We have to rise up. No one else is going to do it for us. We've swapped an oppressor," he adds, repeating the organization's controversial view that the ANC government is as bad as the apartheid government was. These are not the only ones calling for Western Cape independence. The Khoisan King, which we've talked about him, announced in a video that he has already seceded the Cape from the rest of the country. So this is the name, I guess, of the this movement, Gavital Capetonian, and I don't know what that means, what language that's from. They don't define but I'm sure it means leave the Cape. I don't know. I am a Capetonian. Who knows? But that's an interesting take on the deal there. When you have water shortages, the government's got a lot of issues to deal with that might not work out so well for it. Unless it goes full communist, it just confiscates all the resources, then it can starve the people into compliance, like most of them communists usually do. So that's the situations with that. So there's an Article 5 article, something out there. Let me look, see what I can pull up here. Always the devil is in details with those things. Because depending on who runs it, depends on what the agenda is, and the biggest thing is the states still have to adopt it if they do come out forward with anything. Oh goodness, I just got a bunch of junk. Yeah, the Talput program. Yeah, I've ever since this Article 5 thing's come up since like 2010. I've been following that there's a lot of concern over a communist level Article 5 pushing issues that could cause a lot of problems. That's really one of the reasons I kind of, when you're talking back then, I haven't really talked about it on here because before I had a YouTube, I was already like bailed on that idea. Like I didn't see it as being a viable issue at that time or even now. Hey, good morning. ZPD Survivals with us. Also, Midwest Prepper joined us. Sorry about that. I skipped over you back there. Rooster's out. See you later. Poseidon's channel, all caps. Go check it out, folks. I guess he's in Greece, so go check out his channel. If Rooster recommends him, he probably puts out some good stuff. And ZPD's making coffee for everybody, right? Your daily war. I don't know, ZPD. Those videos you putting out doesn't look like much of a war to me. It's like it's the good life. Right, Walter. Yeah, people, the different tribes have very distinctive features in there in South Africa. The tribal nations, unlike in America, it's all the different tribes of black people are mixed together, or even you can see it in some of the native tribes of America. If you look at a Cherokee versus a Sioux, you can know if you can see the difference. It's more so that's probably a good comparison is what these South African tribes you can see distinct differences in the people and who they are, and they see it, and they definitely see it. People that live there. Different tribes exist, like even in America. Some are fat and some are skinny. So what else is going on out there in the interwebs as we wait for Venezuela and South Africa to collapse? And I can't find an Article 5 convention link on a basic search. Maybe if I spelled it right might help. And maybe if I wasn't. Yahoo News is not a good source. Let's try a different. Why does it take me there? Right, Aaron, it can cause confusion. Well, people already have severe constitutional confusion as a mass populace. So that's not beneficial. That's not going to go well because people already don't understand what a republic is, little less. Um, the details of how Article 5 could work. They don't understand that states have any power at all. Most people believe the states should be subservient to the federal government to begin with. So Article 5 would just confuse them even more. Right, Walter. Yeah, I mean, when this stuff's really started getting traction after 08, it looked like there was potential, and that's about the time the Article 5 was really getting a lot of steam, is when the Tea Party got undermined and got hijacked, and it's been all downhill ever since, I think. And now it's being co-opted, I think, like Aaron's talking about here, for nefarious uses. I guess the blood moon's supposed to be pretty spectacular tonight. Be on the lookout for that. Or Friday, not tonight. It says. largest blood moon of century. We've had almost a blood moon just because of all the wildfire smoke you saw when it's on the horizon in the morning or whatnot. All right, folks. Anybody got anything else I want to throw out there? Yeah, I don't find anything immediately, Aaron, unless you have a link to a source or something you could give me an idea where to look. But on a general search, I don't find nothing. Oh, is that blood moon only on the other side? I didn't mention that. Let's click through that. Is that really? It's only on the other side of the globe? I thought it was a flat Earth there, ZPD. How could that be possible? Lunar eclipse will be the longest blood moon visible this century until 2123. We'll all be back here on the chat at that time, right? There was talking about the other day about, or was it a current article where people will be attending their own funerals as robots? Bizarre stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure it's all blocked for a reason. That's probably true. Where is it going to be visible from? Okay, yeah, for those in North America, won't be visible. It will be during the day on Friday for us. It'll be visible Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe, and South America. Well, we're really getting shafted, aren't we? Man, talk about missing out. The Australia, New Zealand, and Eastern Asia, the height of the eclipse will be visible before the moon sets in the early morning of July 28th. Eastern South America and far Western Europe, the total eclipse will be visible as the moon rises on Friday night. Well, there you go. So we're just going to have to take everybody's word for it and watch the video on YouTube. So no celestial viewing for us, I take it. But yeah, if you want to follow along that South African collapse issue, you got a lot going on. Links below. And I did put this other video in here, which is a documentary, which I thought was really good. I shared it on the G Plus. There's tons of stuff I share on the G Plus and Twitter if you want to follow along there. The stuff like this that pops up and relates to issues we're talking about or whatever. Water, food shortage, disasters, all the bad stuff, right? But thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for checking in. It's a Wednesday hump day, so we're on the downhill slide. We will get back at you on Friday morning. Come back and we'll talk it out, see what's going on. And you guys have a great day. Live free.